Let me start with Dan, and can you just introduce yourself a little bit, and then we'll come down the row here, and then we'll take the first question. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan Miller, AT&T. So I'm in a group that has a singular task of growing mobility through enterprise businesses, and it's global companies down to small and medium business. We have a portfolio of solutions ranging from machine-to-machine platforms, machine-to-machine management tools, all the way up to mobile application, mobile device management, and have launched an AT&T developed BYOD solution that has some unique characteristics that aren't offered in the marketplace. And the end-all goal is to try to make it easier for companies to allow for the use of mobile technology everywhere in their business and have it connected to all of the different systems and platforms and make it very easy for workers to extract benefit and value out of the systems that are already in place. So we're very much at the table with most of the large, small, and medium companies, trying to help them on their journey through mobility. And we have an internal motto, mobility first, right? So we think about mobility as we deploy our own solutions, and we have about 36 mobile apps that we use for business internally at AT&T.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Kishore.
My name is Kishore, based out of Troy, Michigan.
Sorry, can you just hold it up a little? Thanks.
I head the Mobility Solutions Group for TCS, primarily focusing on manufacturing industry. Been in this role for 2 years, working with TCS customers like Boeing, Chrysler. We are working on Chrysler on the connected car program for mobility. In Boeing, we are looking at the entire manufacturing shop floor. We put together mobile solutions for the C-17 manufacturing plant. Also working with customers like Owens, E10, Honeywell, and few other customers in this space in the last 2 years. We're trying to reimagine the way the business is done today in terms of manufacturing processes or the way the sales is being done, trying to bring mobility and bring some transformational benefits for them. That's what we do. I'll take questions when it comes.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Doug Johnston. I'm from ExxonMobil from the Global IT function. I am a downstream IT business architect. I work with our manufacturing groups, primarily refining and chemicals manufacturing, on solution coverage for their business lines. I've also kind of evolved into a solution architect for mobility applications that require intrinsically safe devices.
Hi, Dave Lafferty. Been involved in the industrial mobility space for quite a few years, including a large initiative when I was at BP called Clipboard to Computer. And recently, a technical advisor to a board to a company that's moving the automation system to the cloud and then delivering the results on a mobile platform. And also looking at mobility for things like corrosion control.
Okay, thanks. Just keep that for the group. Now, I think we had a question here. I don't know if we can get the mic over here to just...
Thanks.
It should be on.
Mark Hosky, Control Engineering. I just wanted to know how the adoption rate is going at Owens Corning. You mentioned some people are more interested than others.
Yeah. We don't have enough data points at this moment. I think that's a question we'll be better able to answer in roughly 6 to 9 months from now. Reason being, some indications are good, but they're initial indications. We have a plant in Canada that's pretty excited with the technology. Not just the people in the office are excited, people in the shop floor are excited, which is for us a better indicator. But like I said, that other division with the 7 plants, 6 countries, each country is unique. There are cultural differences that would suggest maybe different form factor, different way of looking at data. So those are things we're trying to account for now. So I think as we move forward and gather data points across our network, be better able to understand that. Initial observations are good, but the data sample is too small to actually form a conclusion.
Okay, thanks. Yes, certainly.
I can talk about an example here. We started this program in Boeing for one of their plant a year back. Today we have 100% adoption there in all different roles and functions. The way the adoption has happened is one is to better communication from where we started. We started with small programs, small roles, very small population in the shop floor to 100% adoption today. Primarily, the communication is all about the experience that they get out of using these applications. Not about mandated compliance or you have to do this way. This is the way you have to do it. Rather than bringing what is the small segment, what the experience they get out of it, right? What for their job as a people. That's what we hopped on, and that communication is spread across the plant to get larger adoption. Today, the C17 plant is 100% adopted. Every road, every function in the plant is using mobile solutions for them. So that's an example. But there are cases where we have seen very, very bad adoption in terms when they completely ignore trying to bring transactional data, content, everything is good, well-designed application, but the user experience is extremely ignored. We see adoption is completely missed out there. So we in all our programs that we do today, we do close to 200 applications we are developing for manufacturing industries at any given point in time. This is a key element we follow a lot. We spend a lot of time, effort in our programs, in development efforts also in terms of user experience, and use that to make the organization adopt. It's been very successful that way.
Okay, very good. Do we have another question? Yes, here we are.
Yes, this is Enzo Tieghi and from Servitecno, Italy. I would like to know if there is a way to filter and to avoid to have too many messages sent back and forward to these mobile devices, to the plant personnel that is, let's say, working nomadically along the plants, around the plants. Let's say if there is a methodology or some standards like ISA 18.2 or something else in order to have not too many alarms and messages sent from the plant to the operator.
How do we send it, or is it, what is the question?
Is a question.
I mean,
So is the question how to just limit the number of alarms and messages, or
just to limit the interaction between the plant and the operator that is using the mobile device? Not to have too many alarms coming from the plant to the operators.
see, I mean, the power of mobility is very contextual, right? What we really recommend is that don't try to put it more transactional content oriented, but make it contextual oriented, right? So this is a very powerful capability that mobile device brings it. So we always link it to an event, not just that you try to trigger it from an administrator, but try to link it to an event. So the event could be a safety event, right? There's an incident happened, you try to communicate to the larger audience based on that event. Then it becomes very useful and very powerful. Similarly, a production schedule, right? You are changing a product line. Let's say you're making certain segment of fibers, and then you're shifting today afternoon to a different segment of fibers. So you need to communicate that to everybody in the plant that the production schedules are changing, product lines are changing. Again, you're attaching it to an event. So if you attach to that, it could be many sometimes, it could be limited also, but it is very powerful that way. So I would not say too many is non-value adding, but I will say if you attach it to a specific event, then it's powerful. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think providing the context and the role, right, is very important. The role is equally important because you don't want the quality guy getting the maintenance alerts, et cetera. And it's also based on use case for us. We have plants that have, a room as big as this with let's say 4 machines that do various things. And then we have plants that have a room 10 times the size of this with 1 machine. So I think the use case of the physicality of the plant, where the users are and what they're doing, are they assigned to the 1 machine that's just in this area, or have the span of operating the whole larger area, which is important from a context standpoint. So for us, it's really use case based as well.
One very useful aspect of the mobility is it can be a veneer on top of your system. Well, your back-end systems are real complex and they're designed to deliver everything, that mobile app can be designed fit for purpose, where it reduces all that complexity because you know of the 50 fields that you need to deal with, you only use 5 of them in your particular aspect. So we're finding the mobile apps help, reduce some of that complexity, like alarms and things like that.
Okay. We have another question back here.
Yes. My name is Jake Warren. I work for Brascom. And I have actually 2 different questions, I think. So maybe this is just an open question for the entire panel about maybe you can talk about the grouping of mobility solutions that you have. Like what general problems are you trying to solve that you can't do with anything else, and why you need them, like how you slot those things out. And the other question I have is for, I would call it like maybe, software sustainability, because once you start writing these applications, they become living, breathing organisms that break and that sort. So what compelled you to do that versus going to, say, a more platform agnostic solution like, say, SharePoint, just to display data that people could hit it off the phones too, but you're using a more generic platform?
I guess I can take a second question, and that's the exact reason that we're staying. At this moment, feel we can get the value that we need without creating apps, and doing it more app agnostic, device agnostic, as you say, and that's our current thinking. So I think there's situations where we will need apps, but at this moment, the less we need to do development, unless we have to, the better, because these are the exact same applications that people are using on their laptops and desktops today, right? So they are tweaked from a usability standpoint for mobile, form factor, etc. But there's no real app development. There may be screen resizing, widget movement, but no real background interface changes or logic changes. So.
It's not about just trying to address a problem, right? The way I look at it, it's more of an opportunity that you have in the shop floors, plant shop floors. Mobility brings opportunity. So when we look at solutions within a plant shop floor, if I say manufacturing or beyond, logistics including, the way we look at bringing in a lot of solutions, a lot of application is about looking at one specific aspect. All the roles that playing in shop floor is all targeted to one common objective. It's about maximizing performance of your assets, right? That's all that's happening in shop floor. So how do you really achieve that? You have to do a lot of things at the point of moment where the roles are performed. So this is a phenomenal opportunity mobility is bringing rather than trying to address a problem in the shop floor. That is how we are working in most of our customers' places. Every role is attached to maximizing the value and performance of a perpetual asset. It's be it a process, a product line, or a machines or an equipment, right? So how do you really maximize that? Today there is a huge gap in terms of latency between the traditional systems, right? The desktops or the ERP system versus what's happening in the shop floor. So how do you reduce that latency to maximize this performance, right? That's how we are looking at it. And again, the errors that comes along with it, right? You're using traditional media to handle some of these roles. So how do you really eliminate those traditional medias to maximize the efficiencies coming along with it? So that is how we look at it. Now, I think coming to your other question on the SharePoints and things like that, the way we look at solution is not, for lack of a better word, I'm using the term transactions, right? ERP systems and MES systems are all about transactions. And then your SharePoint examples are all about content, right? So look at it beyond that. I give example this to all my customers. Compare an application that Avis rental car is giving to you versus a Zipcar, right? Zipcar is another rental car company. They also have an app. The phenomenal difference between these two apps when say what it functions, what it delivers to you. One is very transactional, content oriented. Another is very contextual oriented and personalized oriented. It connects the HMI comes to the other app. So this is how we are trying to look at it. So you can get a lot of transaction content through an app, but look at it this way, right? Compared to a laptop, the mobile device, either the smartphone or a tablet, coming with certain capabilities that the desktops are not providing. For example, Lee brought out a lot of examples about accelerometer, gyroscope, inclinometer. It can do a lot of things in terms of positions, motion, and environment, right? Which a laptop cannot provide these capabilities. So if you try to look at your business model or process, bringing these capability into it, you redefine your model. That's what we call a reimagining the whole processes with this new capability that you're getting in the shop floor with these devices. So then you're creating an opportunity rather than trying to address a problem here. So that is how we're looking at it. We do build a lot of application to create content at the point of activity, but look at it bringing that content in a contextual way, right? So for example, in a shop floor which is building a huge C-17 aircraft, you are standing in front of the aircraft trying to do some assembly. Instead of me going and searching for content in a SharePoint Access or an ERP system, the application should sense that where I am, what I am trying to do, and provide everything that I needed in a contextual way. That's a phenomenal gain you're going to get out of it. So it's a trade-off between whether you want an efficiency improvement or you want to bring in a tremendous effectiveness in the whole process. And then that also comes along with that is a user experience, right? Phenomenal experience that comes in the way we handle it.
Okay, thanks. Doug, do you have any thoughts about the sort of general categories that you're tackling?
Yeah, I guess let me kind of give you a little backdrop. We offer a company-provided and BYOD solution for email calendaring and SharePoint. So, excuse me. So I'd say we've probably rolled out tablets, smartphones to all the people in the organization that really feel like just having that device for productivity is valuable. We've also developed our own applications development group. We have our own app store. We've rolled out a number of own developed applications. We've wrapped a number of third-party applications for presentation in our environment. I think, though, the hard part for us is integrating application with work process, develop credits that the business lines can support to justify doing work in this area. And sometimes justifying doing the work also means we need to invest in infrastructure like pervasive wireless and things like that. So sometimes it's finding some of those killer apps in areas that'll justify enough credits that'll not only pay for the application, but pay for some of the infrastructure required to run the application. So areas that our business is looking at is typically touch points with field users to ERP systems, the mechanical interaction with SAP, clearly is an opportunity to make better, simpler, faster, and more accurate. But again, just saying that, well, the business has to articulate some benefits that would justify go ahead and doing that work. I'd also say that in the operator runs area, we've had operator runs solution rolled out for 10 years to all of our field operators across all of our manufacturing plants, typically not using tablets, typically using handheld quarter VGA type devices, many times not connected via wireless but by connected via docking station, because had a work process defined by the business and had a link to this is all we need in order to enable the work process. So I'd say we have application areas going on in mechanical, in SHE, in operations, in technical, a variety of different would like to haves. We're still in the process of trying to translate would like to have into here's the business case to go off and do that.
Okay, thanks. So what about Dan? Have you got some ideas from your customers?
Sorry. Actually, many. We do lots of deployments, and either just being the carrier partner to the big customers, or even developing applications, BYOD and MDM strategies for them. At the end of the day, applications, especially mobile apps, and we use the word apps, not applications, because the goal is to expedite the process, right? You don't want to recreate an enterprise system on a mobile device because it becomes very kludgy and pretty much unusable. And same thing with kind of genericizing with mobile SharePoint and things like that. What you get is resistance to usability. People say, well, it's just easier to use on a big screen. I'm going to go back to my workstation and I'm going to use it on that. And so all the investment you put into trying to get people to use the mobile kind of goes down the tube. So we say, figure out the 3, 4, or 5 things that you absolutely have to do. Build them into a consumer-facing version of that in an application framework. and deploy it out to the users, and you'll have great adoption. Don't do it in a custom build scenario either. Build it on a common framework, and whether that's buying downloading shareware like PhoneGap or something where you can build it in a sustainable model that is updated in the cloud, and you don't have to worry about the updates and the version control on the devices, which is a huge headache. You get the benefit of the mobile app, people using it, people being much more nimble and transactive and doing their job better and feeling like you're providing them something without the infrastructure requirements. And you're leveraging all those back-end systems that you've invested millions and millions of dollars into to try to run your business better, but you're putting apps out there to complement those back-end systems versus full-blown applications. One of the challenges we do see is BYOD. Everyone talks about it, and there's a very few companies that are doing it right. The problem that you get into is companies adopted mobile device management, and that's not bring your own device. So they're forcing MDM down their BYOD users' throats as a policy control mechanism, and users are saying, well, so if I use my personal device for the company and the company gets a benefit for it, how are you going to pay me or reimburse me for the information, the data that I'm burning on it, and the voice minutes I'm using on it for the company's benefit? That's a huge question that sits out there. Sure. So we've created a solution that segregates the business and the personal sides and actually split bills it. Different phone number for the user on the business side than the personal side, and we split bill. We can do that on other carriers as well. So we saw the problem, we backed into the problem, did a big work session with several large Fortune 100 companies and said, if you could have something, what would it look like? And we built it from the ground up. And so this is a solution we call Toggle, and the benefit is that your users can download it. It's a tiny monthly recurring charge for the enterprise, and then we have a split billing mechanism where the enterprise can get the data consumed by that user, pay for that directly, and never touch that consumer's bill. There's no stipends, there's no allowances, there's no expense reports. Right? So think about how much more simple it becomes, and if that employee leaves, that phone number that's attached in a voice over IP environment stays with the enterprise, it doesn't go with the employee. Right? So we're trying to solve the problems and make these complementary to the application space, which is a pretty big challenge.
Okay, thanks. Well, Dave, you want to weigh in on this one, or should we go on to the next question? Because I see we have one out here.
The picking a cross-development platform is pretty important in the management. So the design, the development, the deployment, the management, the security, and the integration tools, make sure that all that flows together, because all those things are important. And I totally agree, trying to roll your own just is not a model that will scale.
Okay, thanks. All right, let's take a question here from the audience.
Okay, Maarten de Kaloge, Dow Chemical. A very practical question to Lee is, on the shop floor, will these people have personal equipment with them, or are you thinking about sharing it between shifts? And then why?
That's a great question. It's something that we're also thinking about. As I said in response to a different question from the gentleman on the other side of the room, for us it's use case based. The example I gave you with the 7 plants, 6 countries is the 4 machines in this room size. So an operator is assigned to a machine. In those cases, we're going to have a device, tablet device, tied to the machine. Kind of, it's small enough, the physicality is okay. And in that case, a tablet would work reasonably well. In other cases, where we have the larger plant with one production line that's 10 times the size of this room then. So in that case, yes. So we haven't addressed that business unit yet. Our current thinking is that it will need to be some sort of check-in, check-out in the control room type thing. We don't know, but that would be the current thinking. That's something we've talked about, where they would use the device and then check it back out. Now, what would that device be? If they're going to do a lot of walking, it should be somewhere wearable, whether it's a sleeve, iPod form factor, or smartphone type form factor, would probably be more usable and more likely to be used than a tablet. So yeah, for us, it's really use case based, depending on what kind of plant and what kind of situation it is.
Okay, thank you. So I have another practical question here that I'll put to the panel, and that's how do you deal with dead spots in the plant when you're using some web-based mobile applications, for example?
Well, I'll tell you, if it's our customer, they call us and we come in and put a BDA in and take care of it. It's pretty easy, right?
Yeah, I mean, in our case, to that point, we do a wireless survey and figure out where to put access points, and then if we need more, we add them. I mean, it's not a...
Okay.
The intent is to have wireless coverage in the areas that we need it, so we do the survey in advance and figure that out.
So it's pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's another related question that. Okay.
I just
let's
want to
go.
jump in. A plant is not that stable. We move things in and out, so that coverage is ever changing. Is there some proactive way that you can say, okay, we need to change something here because there's a new steel column being erected, or there's a pallet of drums that are now reaches up to the ceiling and sort of blocks some other signals? Is that something that you can envision or prevent?
Yeah.
So how do you fix the problem in advance before
Right.
somebody just can't use his phone?
Right, and we're not mature enough to the point that we're seeing those kinds of issues because new equipment hasn't come in yet. The thinking that we have, because we have some of these situations in one or two other plants, is to redo the survey, because as you said, things do change. And it's, again, quite straightforward. In the cases that we have discussed at these one or two plants, it's just redo the survey.
Yeah, for us, it's when our customers call us and say, hey, we did a line change and we have equipment that is in different places. We go in, and since it's all based on fiber runs, you just put your access points in different places on the fiber runs, and there might be a small cost associated with it. The other thing you can do is you can over-design and have a much denser capacity of your access points to begin with, so you don't have the issue of, if I change my layout, do I have dead spots, right? So you over-capacitize to about 20% above 100.
Okay. So with the proliferation of smartphones, everybody's got one in their pocket. So what happens in an area that you really pay a lot of attention to, where you require intrinsically safe devices? What happens when somebody carries their phone into these areas? Is this an issue for anybody, or have you thought about it?
I'll try to answer that. If it really is an area that requires a hazardous environment, then that person would have a piece of equipment that was rated for that hazardous environment, whether it was a phone or a tablet, or they would leave the device back in the control room that they had.
Sure, but
Not sure, but.
No, but I.
Not sure, but.
But the question is, these things are just part of you, and you forget it's in your pocket. How do you prevent that?
You don't walk onto our process units and just say, I forgot about something.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I'm going to keep quiet on that one.
I mean, if it's a personal device, that is definitely a challenge. I mean, this has to be more of a compliance issue,
Yeah.
I would say. But if it's an enterprise-provided application, let's say, or an app or a device, we in some cases what we do is we grid the plant, and we put what we call as geofencing part of the app itself, that it triggers vibration when they reach a certain point. We grid it, we can sense it. If the Wi-Fi signals are pretty good, there are a lot of algorithms out there in the market that you could even, within a plant, you can simulate like a GPS environment if you have a good Wi-Fi capabilities. When I'm talking about really an advanced feature here, but it needs a lot of investment also. But that is a way to do it, but no, we have to really see what's the use case justification behind it.
Right.
I just make one other comment. We have in some plants, a number of plants, the business has done risk assessments for parts of the plant and decided that, well, it's a plant environment, it doesn't require full intrinsically safe device. So if I'm in a walkway on a road, in the middle of the plant, it's an acceptable practice that if I've done the risk assessment, I don't need to have an intrinsically safe device.
Okay. So careful assessment of the facility makes
Careful assessment of the facility
is the other piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, I'll play devil's advocate because we're talking about consumer grade devices, and consumers don't have their Wi-Fi radios on. And GPS is only accurate to about 10 meters, 30 feet. By the time you hit a warning, you're 30 feet into a unit that might be completely restricted from consumer-grade devices. And so I think it's going to be an ongoing reinforcement of a policy than it is a technology thing. Mm-hmm. Although there are things coming out like beacons that everyone leaves their Bluetooth on because you don't drive unless you have Bluetooth in most states so that you can hands-free. As you enter something, a beacon is something that works within 5 feet, and as you pass a beacon, it will instantly tell you, hey, this is a restricted area. These are being deployed into retail chains today, but there certainly is an industrial use case to put a beacon at a threshold point that says, hey, let's make sure you don't have anything in your pocket you shouldn't have in your pocket, right?
Well, that's another good thought. Yep.
The BP units, typically when you check into the control room, they'll actually have you turn in your cell phones.
Yeah.
And they'll just put them in a little tray.
I think it's common.
Yeah, and we've historically had devices we didn't allow into the processing plants, like cameras and things like that, and other sorts of, consumer devices. So we've managed that risk in the past, so I think it's a doable thing.
All right, I think we have time for one last question, if we've got any. If not, I've got a question just for the panel. Maybe everyone could take a quick thought about this one. But so there are a lot of possibilities. Maybe there's some multiplier effects where you can add some mobility and transform some other technologies that are coming along other way. So the question is, what's the biggest opportunity that you see, and when do you think it might get here? So I guess we'll just start at this end, Dave, and work down.
I think improved safety and integrity is where the real potential for mobility is. The ability to have a gas detector, personal gas detector, that does everything that it does today, but also notifies the control room that you've experienced a whiff of gas, is something that we can really help increase and things like lone worker support, things like that. And then also, I think, a step change in how we do inspections, and we look for integrity issues like corrosion and erosion are places that mobility has the ability to really accelerate our risk management.
Okay, thanks. Doug?
We've seen some interesting opportunities in the pipeline area, marrying mobility and geospatial and GPS together so that we can locationally tag work requests. I'm not going to say that's the biggest opportunity, but that's a real nice mobility opportunity that mobility really enables. That's relatively easy to do and solves a lot of issues that business line's been grappling with over time.
Okay, work request.
Two points I want to establish here. One, the biggest opportunity I see in plant shop floor is trying to replace your endpoint computing devices, the traditional devices. I see a lot of opportunities in some of the plants where they have this huge, heavy equipment built, traditional equipment. I don't know what they call, like companies like Honeywell, they all built like $4,000. A lot of handles, very conventional handles are used today to read barcodes and all that. Again, $2,000, $3,000. All these traditional endpoint devices can be easily replaced by mobility. A big win I see here, if you have, let's say 60 or 70 plants out there and using these all traditional handle devices and these terminals, it's going to replace with, let's say, 1/1/6 of that cost, right? That's a huge win I see. It's happening. We are doing it in most of our customers' place. The second point is, it is not like a prescriptive approach, right? There's a huge difference between somebody who's making an aircraft, right? The biggest opportunity I see is in the assembly side. Whereas the process industry, what I see is the biggest opportunities on the operations side. Big values are coming up. But if I take an automotive industry, the biggest value is coming up from mobility when you apply these solutions, mainly on the non-conformity, quality, pre-delivery sides. Huge investments we are making, huge benefits are coming in. So it's based on what is your industry, what's your business model, the opportunities are varying quite a bit. It's not that what we do in the aerospace industry can be replicated in the process industry. It's completely different.
Okay.
So that's what our experience is. But there are opportunities definitely there in every industry.
Good, thanks. Dan?
So I'll go a little bit further in the future and say that the stuff these guys talk about is absolutely relevant. It's already being done in a lot of places today. It's not mainstream. It's certainly in its early adoption phase. I think the big game changer is wearables, to bring the worker more into the Internet of Things and immerse that person into the actual contextual aspect of their job in the manufacturing facility, right? And we're at the very infancy of wearables like watches and Google Glass and things like that, and you'll see an explosion of this technology over the next 10 years, where in 10 years the worker will have a complete set of gear that allows them to look around and see virtual overlays of everything they're trying to manage in the facility, and they won't have to guess on which piece of equipment, which pump is failing, which pump is vibrating, which one has temperature issues. It's just going to all be overlaid into their field of vision, and they'll be much more responsive. You'll have, again, this is just like automation did. It reduces the workforce, but makes the workforce more productive.
Okay.
And I'll go back to the people. I think it's use case based again. And I think as millennials, you can't have someone in corporate America telling you how to run plant A and then take that same solution for plant B. It has to be use case based. I think the huge opportunity we have is, as millennials get into the workforce, working with them, they understand the technology, they understand the operational aspects of being on the plant floor. How do you design a solution together for plant A? Design a different solution together for plant B. I think having that insight that the people on the shop floor provide when those people are millennials, and using that to streamline a solution, is probably where it's going to be most effective.
Well, thank you, Lee. And with that, we'll conclude our program today. So thank you all for attending our session, and please join me in thanking our panelists.